Close it up to 7 o'clock. Let's wrap it all. Okay, so welcome everyone. We're going to call the meeting to order. I'd ask at this time if there are any additions to the agenda. I would ask for a motion to approve the agenda as presented. Thank you. Do we have a seconder?
Second.
All those in favor, please signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Any opposed? Agenda carries. So we have a gallery presentation this evening on the Community Climate Capacity Program. So Molly and Martin, I hand the table over to you.
Thank you very much.
Presentation.
There we go. Okay, so thanks, Council, for hearing us out tonight. We're going to be talking about the Community Climate Capacity Program. I'm joined by Molly Foster and Patrick Lara from the Clean Foundation. Molly is the Community Navigator for Hawkesbury and Richmond County, and Patrick Lara is the manager overseeing the second cohort of the CCC program that the two municipalities are part of. What that program is all about, Molly will tell you a lot more about. So Molly will be talking through the work at Clean Foundation, a little bit of history of the program, and the sort of program in general. And I will then speak again after Molly and talk a little bit about what Molly is working on for Hawkesbury in particular. So just to set the stage a little bit, back in late spring, Town of Hawkesbury developed an application to the Clean Foundation to become part of this program, and was successful, and which followed then a recruiting period and an onboarding period of Molly, who commenced in post in September. Is that right? Yeah. And Molly will be with us until March 2028. So Molly, I'll hand it to you to talk about Clean Foundation, the program overall, and then jump right back in to talk about the Hawkesbury objectives.
Sure. Thank you. So I've got a little script here to find written down. As Martin said, I'm Molly Foster. I'm a community navigator for Clean Foundation. And I specifically work with the town of Port Hawkesbury and the county of Richmond myself to support their municipal climate projects and objectives. Tonight we'll be speaking about Clean Foundation, as Martin said, funded by the Nova Scotia government, which aims to build capacity for communities across Nova Scotia and offer support and guidance on climate and sustainability initiatives at the local level. Oh. There we go. Clean Foundation is an environmental organization that helps communities prepare for the realities of a changing climate. We protect local environments and build stronger, more resilient places to live and to work. As a trusted partner to governments, nonprofits, and community organizations, we implement practical programs that deliver meaningful results across the region through initiatives like clean transportation, workforce development, educational programming, and energy efficiency. The Community Climate Capacity Program, which I work for CCC for short, is made possible through funding provided by the Nova Scotia Department of Environment and Climate Change. There is no cost for participating communities. And when the town was successful in their application to participate in this program, the municipality received access to a community navigator, myself, who can connect them with our team of climate specialists and the broader team at Clean Foundation to support local climate initiatives. The CCC program was created to help Nova Scotian communities act on climate change by providing a dedicated staff and team of specialists and helping to guide participating communities through climate and sustainability initiatives at the local level. Working with communities, we set ambitious goals for 3 years together. Some examples include updating climate plans, addressing flooding through adaptation and policy, conservation of land, creating community energy and emissions plans, upgrading infrastructure and assets to make them more resilient to natural disasters, and much more. So we have 8 participating communities. The program runs until March 31st, 2028. And this is a map of all participating communities as of right now, with geographic spread across the province, all of whom are assigned a community navigator or a climate lead, like myself, to support their climate objectives. In May of 2024, CLEAN initiated this program with pilot communities across Nova Scotia to work towards supporting community climate action and resiliency. That includes 16 municipalities, one Mi'kmaq community, one African Nova Scotian land trust, and a rural enterprise network, for a total of 19 communities for the pilot. In October 2025, we officially welcomed 9 additional municipalities, one of which is the town of Port Hawkesbury. This is an exhaustive list of the work that we do as the Community Climate Capacity Team. We can offer this to participating municipalities. Some of this includes funding application support, climate planning, project planning, policy development, project implementation, natural asset management, research, data acquisition, network leveraging, and training and capacity building support. So the aim of the program is to offer dedicated staff resources to support climate initiatives, help communities clearly identify and address climate risks and opportunities, and support the development and implementation of climate adaptation and mitigation projects that are already identified as a priority within the team. This is what our program structure looks like. As I mentioned before, it includes a community navigator or climate lead like myself, who liaises directly with their assigned communities. And I have a dedicated team of liaisons here. I have Martin and Jason McMillan with the town. I also can put the town in contact with a team of specialists who on an as-needed basis can provide expertise and support in key areas such as policy and planning, adaptation and mitigation, funding and engagement, and GIS and research. And lastly, there's our program manager who supports the direction of the Community Climate Capacity Program as a whole and liaises with program partners. So in summary, that's me, a team of specialists who work for CLEAN, providing guidance and expertise on climate mitigation, adaptation, resilience, and asset management, and a program manager who has overall team oversight and collaborates with our program director to liaise with our partners. What this actually looks like, since spring of 2024, we've enrolled in mitigation and adaptation-based programs, hosted a wide range of community engagement events, and applied to multiple funding streams. So as you can see, that's 25 program participations, 380 community engagements across the province, 36 successful funding applications amounting to $13.2 million awarded to communities, again, since spring 2024. Some ongoing community highlights, examples of the work being done by the Community Climate Capacity Team. In CBRM, our program assisted the fleet manager and staff at NSCC to organize the first instance of the NSCC Electric Vehicle Safe Service and Maintenance course on Cape Breton Island. This program has never been offered before outside of HRM. The CCC program also supported the Jitney Trail project in the town of Pictou, which will enhance the trail to prevent further erosion through rock toe and vegetated embankment design. And there are lots of others. And with that, I'll hand it over to Martin with some more specific objectives that the town has.
Thank you. So when the application was developed, there were some certain projects and areas of work identified that we really wanted the community navigator to add capacity to, both sort of in a leading role, but also in a supporting role. So what you have out there on the screen now is kind of what was the pillars of that application. So first off, and kind of high on the priority list, was starting to look at this community solar project for the town. So really early stage, starting from scratch, looking at the land that's available, potential facilities that could host it. Once that's identified, do a bit of project development on it, go out and find the funds that are needed. I should say here, again, to Molly's point before, it's a big network sitting behind Molly that are doing climate-related work across the province. So also kind of what's happening elsewhere in the province. What learning is happening in other communities that other municipalities are doing that Molly can kind of bring to the town and as this project develops. So fairly early stage on that one. We got some good leads. I think there's a way forward, albeit early stage. We're kind of starting to kind of see where can we find some funding to start assessing different sites, and then from that figure out what would be the best solution there. Another one, land related water utility. Obviously, this is more Jason's business than mine, but certainly having Molly lend a bit of capacity to that file. We believe there's some monitoring and data capture equipment that's required for the water utility. So really having Molly come in and help us identify what's needed, and again go on and find those funds that can help pay for it. The Strait Area Marina is obviously a town asset, but operated by another organization. There's some issues around shoreline protection and some design and construction of breakwater infrastructure needed there. So again, Molly can lend some. You're not kind of deep diving on that one yet, but it's certainly the intention that Molly will get her hands on this file as well. And again, you'll see a common theme here: identify funding sources and fundraising, and sort of find out what could be the avenues to go through to progress that project. Community energy and emissions plan. Some of you will be familiar with it. I've dragged you along to a couple of workshops, and I thank you wholeheartedly for doing that. So this is really helping me with Brendan Piper, who's the sort of lead person, also from Clean Foundation on that one. But once we have the final report, which will be this spring, really looking to Molly helping me implementing some of the recommendations from that. There's been some crossover with stuff like the community solar project there, but yeah, hoping Molly can bring some capacity too. Climate Ready Plan process. No one I know a ton about. I think the town was enrolled in the last cohort there, so it's still early stages. Just from my experience with Richmond County, it was a little bit further ahead. The consultants are in a data gathering stage. So once that comes to the town, certainly hoping Molly can help find that data that the consultants are requiring as they start to build a profile for the town. And then finally, this is kind of a bit, if needed, develop some enhanced flood mapping for the town. There's a lot happening at the provincial level, I believe. So it's really to find out once we see those results, once we understand the risks to the town's infrastructure from that flood mapping, are there any gaps, anything that needs to still be addressed, and is that something Molly can help us progress with? So those were the kind of 6 projects that we built the application around. I say we, that's unfair, is really Jason that did that. But this is, I think, fair to say, a fairly flexible project. So Molly can also kind of lend capacity when opportunities arise that we hadn't sort of planned for, and that can be so Molly can really provide support on or lead on climate action related activity as and when required. So that, again, to Molly's point from the board, whether it's identifying funding opportunities, doing the fundraising, coming up with project ideas, really anything. And we already have some early wins, or certainly already some projects on the go that kind of falls into this. So that's been really great. So Molly has led and found. So Molly's really good at finding the funding. We've learned that she's got a good list, sort of a master sheet she's controlling. And on this, there was an opportunity through the Climate Ready Infrastructure Service program. And actually developed 2 applications relevant to the town. So one in the name of the town, really to look at the Reeve Street Bridge that's currently closed, trying to get some dollars for consultants to come in and understand what are the immediate work required, but also how, in doing so, how do you also future-proof this piece of infrastructure for climate-related events in the future. And the second one, we submitted two applications, also one in the name of Richmond County, but it's relevant for the town because it's to do with the joint industrial park. So really looking at getting consultants involved to get an updated scope of work and estimated cost for repairs to Unity Drive and the joint industrial park. So we do have the culvert on the road was damaged during Hurricane Fiona, and I think we got a quote for at the time for what it would take to repair that. However, that's now a few years ago, and conditions have further deteriorated there. So we really need to update that scope of work and better understand the costs that will be needed there. So we've been successful in this, all thanks to Molly. She's been leading on those. So we have CBCL on board on both projects, and they will be working with us this spring to come up with this. And then finally, Molly also lent some support to John Bain at EDPC with this application to the Coastal Planning Support Program, develop the scope of work for that and fill out the application form. Yeah, so we'll probably end it there, I think, but happy to take any questions.
Well, thank you first off for your presentation. Really great information and updates. We really appreciate it. Maybe we'll start with Councilor Gordy.
No, thank you very much for the presentation. Can we get the your PowerPoint?
Yeah, I can send it along.
If you could send it to Melissa, and you could circulate it to council. Yeah. Yeah, okay. Thank you very much. Thanks.
Councilor
Thank you, Martin and Molly, for your presentation. Molly, Councillor Barrett and I first met you last fall in a program here in the building on this topic. And we were looking at that time into some opportunities around the Granville Street Bridge or the Reedy Street Bridge, as you've got there. Were those wins as highlighted here part of what we're looking at that day, do you know, or is there other opportunities to seek further funding in support of climate action around those pieces of infrastructure?
So I think might not be aware of subject to that conversation, but I do have the final report coming from those workshops, and I think it would be smart to probably share that with CBCL as they're working on that project. So there's some community input that they can take on board as well. It's a really good point.
Okay, excellent. And I look forward to whatever findings you have for data monitoring for landfill lake water utility. Look forward to seeing what you come up with there. And I hope that the recent provincial budget doesn't make your job too much harder. Thank you.
We should cure some large yeah. I hope.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Hurt.
It just popped up on there that piqued my interest was as part of the community development, the straight area front. And I would love if maybe you could come to one of our meetings and maybe enlighten us on what could be available to enhance design, construction, breakwaters, and funding that source, the wide scope of opportunities that we have around the waterfront. Would that be possible, do you think, or would that be applicable to this?
I can join in on meeting, and at the very least, I can, if it doesn't
Give some
match,
information, yeah.
I'll give you some information on the
Yeah.
program
And what might be opportunities for. I appreciate that, and I really appreciate the presentation. Thank you so much for coming. It's lots of information. Thanks for your work.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Bear.
Yeah, thank you for the presentation. It's, you know, climate change, it's real. So, you know, looking at it closely and, you know, mitigating some some risks that are down the road could have effects on the town's cost. So I think it's important to look at that closely. And it's just not looking at the town today, it's looking into the future and being prepared for that. I think that's just being proactive. So no, it's good. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and I might be able to connect Molly and Paul. Again, shake that.
Thank you, Your Worship. So the focus when you mentioned straight area marina, what was that particular area?
would be, let's see, on our initial application, we had shoreline protection, design and construction of breakwater infrastructure, identifying future funding sources and applying for funding. So in large part, I can help with funding once certain projects move forward.
All right, great. Yep, thank you.
Thank you so much.
You.
We'll move on next to acknowledgements. So just for the benefit of council, for the month of March is Irish Heritage Month. March 8th is International Women's Day. March 11th is National Day of Observance for COVID-19. March 14th is Commonwealth Day. March 15th is International Day of Combat Islamophobia. And March 21st, which we also have a proclamation on our agenda, is for International Day for the Elimination of Racial Discrimination. March 31st is International Transgender Day of Disability. And March 31st is National Indigenous Languages Day. And I would ask if council have any acknowledgements that they would like to make at this time.
Yeah, your worship, through you. I'd like to acknowledge the passing of Carl David Burlock. Mr. Burlock was born in Quebec, along with his brother Pat and sister Christine, who was raised in Port Hawkesbury by his parents, Rod and Danielle on Prince Street. He's a graduate of CERIC, a graduate of Dalhousie, Technical University of Nova Scotia, an advanced diploma in management from Columbia University, and had a long, many decades career with Export Development Canada in Ottawa. Of significance in Carl's youth as a high school student, along with, as his so-called wingman, Mr. Gerald Doucette Jr., Jerry. Those two formed the Port Hawkesbury Thunderbolts Aquatic Club. And they were the original coaches and the executive and the founding in that way. So since that time, there's been, without interruption, an aquatics competitive swimming club in Port Hawkesbury. Their work in their youth as high school students was the genesis of that. And along with his family, the swimming community mourns his loss.
Thank you very much. And on behalf of council, please, if you have the opportunity to pass on our condolences to the family.
I will, and I would be remiss if I did not, I think I don't know if I mentioned, he was also a husband and a father to a son and daughter. Thank you.
Any other acknowledgements this evening? Thank you very much, Councilor Langley. We're going to move on now to approval of council minutes. Included in your package are minutes from our public meeting from February 3rd. At this time, I'd ask if there are any errors or omissions. Hearing none, we'll move on to the set of minutes from our public hearing of February 17th, 2026. I'd ask at this time if there are any errors or omissions in that set of minutes. Hearing none, I would ask if there are any errors or omissions from our special public meeting also on February 17th, 2026.
Your worship, just a small note.
Sure.
It says I was attended virtually. That was my attempt. It was a poor attempt.
Okay.
I was going through security and was unable to participate to the full extent that I wish that I could have. So
Yeah.
I don't know if you need to
We can-
change that or not.
Yeah, I think that we could maybe make a note. But I don't know if we need to change it. If it's,
That's fine. I'm just acknowledging,
if you were able to take in all of it, yeah,
I read the minutes.
okay. That probably satisfies your virtual attendance. Okay, anything else from the special public meeting minutes? Okay, I'd ask now if there are any business arising from any of those three sets of minutes. Okay, we'll move on to council committee reports. So we'll ignore the CAO Terry Doyle since we have our acting CAO Brian Luciano here.
right on the screen. So,
Right on the screen. There you go. Over to you, Brian.
okay, so we have two items that are coming from the council committee reports. Two motions for council considering. First, is related to a working group. So the motion for council to consider is that the town of Port Hawkesbury strike a working group under the Grow Port Hawkesbury to focus on marine energy strategy and to progress the Oceans Innovation Center.
Thank you. What is the wishes of council? Okay, do we have a seconder?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Yes. Any opposed? Motion carries.
The second motion was a request from the Quad County U18 AA White Caps. And the motion for consideration from council is that the town of Port Hawkesbury support the U18 AA Quad County White Caps with a $1,000 gold sponsorship donation.
Okay, thank you. What is the wishes of council? Leaving me in suspense.
I'll second.
Okay, so it's been moved by Deputy Mayor Barrett, seconded by Councillor Hart. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor, please signify by saying yes.
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 Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. And does that conclude our reports? Okay, thank you very much, Brian. I'd ask at this time for council to identify if there's any errors or omissions from our set of meeting minutes from February 17th, 2026 for committee of the whole. And if there are no errors or omissions, I would ask for a motion to approve that set of minutes.
I'd make the motion, your worship.
Okay, thank you. Councilman Corey has moved. Do we have a seconder?
Second.
Seconded by Deputy Mayor Barrett. All those in favor, please signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Any opposed? The minutes are adopted. Any business arising from the minutes? We didn't have an in-camera session prior to our public meeting, so we will move on to correspondence. And I'll hand things over to Brian to give give council a review of the letter coming from the Department of Municipal Affairs regarding budget 2026-2027.
Yep, so I'm sure all of council is aware that the current government has made some significant cuts to funding. Town was sent, and sorry, not just this town, but all towns and villages and municipalities have sent a letter from Deputy Minister, Mr. LaFlush, indicating that for core funding programs that are available to municipalities are being cut. This is the Flood Risk Infrastructure Program, Provincial Capital Assistance Program, Municipal Innovation Program, and the Growth and Renewal and Infrastructure Development Fund. The town has been very successful using 3 of those programs, PCAP, the MIP, and GRID. We currently have funding under all 3 of those. For council's information, all funds that have previously been approved and are part of the work going forward, that funding will continue. This is actually saying that the funding on these applications is now closed until further notice. So there's no indication whether these programs will come back or not, but it will have some significant impacts on town budgeting going forward, because a lot of these programs were used for capital investment in the town. So that open for council.
Any questions or comments?
Your worship, through you,
Councilor,
Brian, I could have asked you outside and I just didn't. But is the Spruce Street affected by any of these applications?
So the Spruce Street is funded under the GRID program. That's the 600,000 we have for extending sewer up to the proposed site of the development. So that funding is still in place. So it does not affect that funding, but the option to do additional funding on top of that would be eliminated
so like for new application.
for new applications. Yeah.
Any other questions or comments? Did you have a follow-up?
Yeah, so there is a follow-up to this. In addition to that, although this wasn't sent in a letter, there was a list of the total grants and programs that were cut by the province. It was in total $130 million. So I asked staff to look through that and identify some of the other programs that will be affected. So we do have a list of several grants that we continually access year over year that will no longer be available to us. A lot of this is under the communities, culture, tourism and heritage, things such as rec development, accessibility grants, trail grants, community recreation grants, festival and community development, active communities funds, planning assistance, Connect to, and also under the summer skills from labor and skills and immigration. So that would be student related funding.
So these, so any funding applications that we've already had accepted are
Those,
fine.
Those are
It's
fine.
just for new applications.
and most of this funding would have already been spent.
Right.
This is usually a year by year grant, so coming into budget season, it's gonna be a little more difficult, so.
Absolutely. Okay, Councilman Moore.
Yeah, just for clarification, your worship, to Mr. Luciano. So is this whole list of programs been eliminated?
Yeah, and these are only ones identified quickly by staff as we went
Okay.
through the list. It was.
It's not that they've been cut back or reduced, they've been.
Some have been eliminated completely, some of them have been reduced significantly.
Okay,
Definitely gonna impact budget deliberations for sure.
Yeah, well, we'll definitely have to bear that in mind and take a look at what programs and budgetary leveraging opportunities are still available. And we may have to pivot a little bit in terms of our priorities so we can stretch our municipal dollars as far as possible.
Anything that's not eliminated completely, where there's budgets still remaining or programs still remaining, we will still aggressively pursue funding of those.
Yeah, so I guess we'll keep our eye on this, and if there's further discussion to be had, we can add it to our capability for further discussion. Yeah, any other questions or comments from council? Okay. All right, we're gonna move on then to proclamations. So we do have one proclamation, and so it's for International Day for the Elimination of Racial Discrimination. Whereas the International Day for the Elimination of Racial Discrimination is solemnly observed worldwide on March 21st, commemorating a tragic incident in Sharpeville, South Africa in 1960, where at least 91 individuals were fatally shot by police and at least 238 were injured during a peaceful demonstration against apartheid passed laws that mandated non-white individuals to carry state-issued identification, particularly in designated restricted areas. And whereas injustices stemming from racial discrimination persist locally and globally, occurring daily and affecting individuals' ability to participate in society safely and equitably, prompting us to recognize the urgent need for sustained efforts to eradicate all forms of racial discrimination, systematic racism, injustice, and hate. And whereas March 21st serves as a poignant reminder and a call to action, compelling us all to engage in proactive work towards the elimination of racial discrimination and the promotion of a world where diversity is celebrated and valued. And whereas racism, hate, and discrimination have no place in the town of Port Hawkesbury or anywhere. And whereas the town of Port Hawkesbury is dedicated to confronting and dismantling systematic racism and strives to create an inclusive community that embraces diversity, where every individual can feel a sense of belonging and thrive without fear of discrimination. Therefore, as mayor of the town of Port Hawkesbury, what is wishes of council with regard to this proclamation? So, hey, do we have a second?
I'd like to second that.
Okay, thank you. All those in favor, please signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Any opposed? We will adopt this proclamation and proclaim March 21st, 2026 as the International Day for the Elimination of Racial Discrimination in the town of Port Mossbury. Thank you, Council. Okay, so we'll now move on to other business. So the first item of business is the Port Hastings Visitor Information Center. So I'll ask our acting CAO, Brian Luciano, to introduce the center.
Yeah, so on the 19th of February, communication was sent out to municipalities and the public, letting them know that 3 visitor information centers were being discontinued at Halifax Airport, Peggy's Cove. Sorry, 4 of them. Peggy's Cove, the one closest to us, which would directly affect us, Port Hastings, and Yarmouth. It's been a topic of discussion amongst municipalities. Contacted the other municipalities in the region, see how they going to approach addressing this. So just see how council wants to move forward.
Sure. Okay. And just I can provide just a little bit more information to council with regard to this topic. So I did have the opportunity to communicate with Warden McIsaac from Inverness. And I believe Brian had the opportunity to speak with the CAO, Kate McDonald.
Yep.
And they are going to be meeting as a council this upcoming Thursday. And since the BIC is in Inverness County and in their municipality, my thought would be to, as they go through their process, to have staff reach out to see what we can do to support them, where it's directly in Inverness, and to see what action they will take and how we can support that. And we can certainly have further discussion at our committee of the whole, because then we'll have a little bit more information at that time. Also, my thought would be to reach out to our Town of Port Hawkesbury representative on the Destination Cape Breton Association to see if you can learn a little bit more about maybe some of the actions that are being taken by Destination Cape Breton with regard to the closure in Port Hastings. And also, as per some email dialogue we've had as a council, certainly reaching out to our MLA, Kyle McCory, and if the council is okay with it, I think that Deputy Mayor Barrett, when we have solidified a time to meet, if you have time, and just to get some more information from our MLA in terms of these closures, and then we can reconvene on the topic at our committee of the whole once we have more information at our disposal. If that's agreeable to council. But certainly want to open up the floor if there's any questions or comments.
No, definitely agree. It's good direction, but it's a sad reality, you know, just even in my personal business, you know, business has changed over the years. I work in a retail and service business that has changed and it's gone, you know, definitely more digital, but at the end of the day, it's still a people business. And I think of tourism as the same thing. It's the people business and those interaction with those people coming through makes a difference.
Absolutely. That's what we're good. That's what I need. Okay, so yeah, most definitely it is. Cape Breton is on the international stage for tourism. And that personal connection, to your point, Deputy Mayor, you know, it's certainly concerning. And I think it'll be important to have some conversations with our MLA to express our concern and to figure out what's the best way to take action as council and to support Inverness as well. Okay, anything else on this topic? Okay. We're going to move on then. There is a request that came forward to council on, I had an email from Amanda McDonald. She does a lot of volunteer work and, activism, with the, Scleroderma Society, from the Atlantic branch. And she reached out to see if council would, consider, providing, in-kind support if they were to hold and make a move for scleroderma, in June. And the initial plan would be to use the community trails for that walk, but in case of a rain venue, they would, like to be able to use the walking track for that, event. So I told Amanda that I'd bring it forward to council for consideration. If council is willing to provide, in-kind, support in terms of the venue. And if council is supportive, this is the motion, would be that the town of Roxbury directs staff to offer in-kind support and to make a move for a scleroderma event in June 2026. That is the wishes of council.
Awesome.
Okay, we have a seconder? Okay, seconded by Councillor Langley. All those in favor, please signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Yes. Any opposed? Motion carries. And that concludes other business, with the exception of council expenses. So I'll hand things over to Brian to the review.
Yep, so council expenses for February 2026. We had 2 pre-registrations for the FCM being held in Edmonton for Councillor Hart and Mayor Chisholm Beaton, as well. Registration and travel for Councillor Langley to do the Marine Renewables Conference in Ottawa.
Thank you. And as always, our expenses will be posted on our website. And if there's any questions, certainly folks can reach out in regard to those expenses. So we don't have approved agenda items, so we'll move on to future meetings. Our next meeting is committee of the whole in 2 weeks' time for March 17th. And then it'll be followed by our next public meeting of council for April 7th. And at this time, I ask if there are any public questions related to any of our agenda items this evening. You're more than welcome to come to the podium. Yeah, absolutely. So our typical guideline around this is you just have to provide your name. And you can certainly speak to any of the agenda items if you have any questions or comments. And if we don't have answers at this time, we're happy to take your information and get back to you.
Perfect. Well, my name is Rosie Wyman. I am the previous senior travel counselor in Port Hastings. I'd like to thank the council for supporting us. And I'm not sure, for anyone that doesn't work in a visitor center, if they actually fully understand what we do other than giving information. So the one in Port Hastings is a bit of a funnel. We funnel all kinds of information for everybody. If you move to this area and you don't know anybody, then you come to the visitor center and you find out what's going on everywhere, not just here, but on both sides. We also offer French service, and we have a lot of French travelers. And we answer all the questions because we do have French communities, but there's not always a French speaker everywhere. So when they find one, you get all the questions about everything. Mm-hmm. And even though the business has changed, I've been there, this would have been my 20th season. It's very different from when I first started, but it's still information. We've changed more, not necessarily doing as many reservations as we used to, but we've become more teachers. We teach about our culture. We teach about our language. We teach about our geography. We teach about the weather. We have a lot of it here.
Yes, we do.
And we become a funnel of information. Last year, the big thing was the forest fires. So a lot of people were redirected. As we know, traveling on Nova Scotia highways, there's a lot of accidents. So we do a lot of redirections that way. Sometimes with whether there's cancellations, whether it's ferries, flying, whatever. We do that as well. It's really whatever anybody needs. Parts for their cars, Band-Aids, vet, specialty foods, whatever they need. And when that's not gonna be there anymore, I don't know if everybody knows, but the national parks just announced, the Cape Breton Highlands, that you're gonna have to make a reservation to do the Skyline Trail. So there's a lot of people that do the Skyline Trail. There's limited parking. That's the issue. So, the last couple of years, they had somebody with a gate, and when the parking lot was full, they closed the gate. So this year, they're introducing reservation. I can pretty well guarantee that most people won't find out about that till they get to the national park. So that's gonna make a lot of people not happy. So there's a lot of information that's gonna be missed.
Absolutely.
And the fact that we had the cleanest bathrooms. And, you know, it was a good spot. People could take a break, have a picnic, come into town and have supper, lunch, breakfast, or go somewhere else and have supper, lunch, breakfast. The big loss. We all know if you Google something, you get the top.
Yeah.
The top people that have the money to pay to be at the top.
That's true.
The smaller properties, restaurants, museums don't have that kind of money, and they're gonna lose. And I'm not sure how they're gonna be able to really measure the loss.
Absolutely.
Google's gonna send them to wherever they wanna go the quickest way on the highway. So if you're not on the highway, you're gonna lose. So it's a loss on many levels across the province. A loss of museums is big. I have a lot of opinions about it.
I know this is slightly unorthodox, but since we do have the deputy mayor and I are wanting to meet with the MLA.
I was just
And
thinking,
this is just an opportunity where you're supposed to ask questions, and I know this is completely unorthodox and kind of outside the envelope of what our public question period is. This is a good opportunity for us to ask you some
Sure.
questions. To get a
If
little
I
bit
have the
better,
answer, I'll be
to
more
get a
than-
little bit of better context in terms of that function.
Yeah.
That will now be law, that personal touch.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And over the years, like, it's like, traffic count in the, no change, like growing, I would think, or,
So last year, we saw, an uptake in people from Quebec, because they weren't going to the States. A lot of Canadians, and a lot of Americans that just wanted to get away.
Mhm.
They wouldn't even talk politics, which they usually do, it's just like, we wanted out. Fair enough, welcome. And I think we're gonna see more. Because if you compare this year to last year, there's gonna be more. I don't have the exact numbers, but I did the numbers for the visitor center last year. I can safely say 40,000 people went through, easy, probably definitely more, but my memory's good, but not that long.
Yeah,
That's
that's
a
a
lot.
significant number.
That's a significant number.
Mhm.
And that's people who probably did their online planning, but
Got it wrong.
had all kinds of questions that.
Yes,
And,
well,
yeah,
Google is good if you understand how Google works. And you have to filter amongst all the information you get, and you have that, yeah, Google's funny, you need to use the right words.
Yeah.
So if you're vague about your question, then you get the vague about the answer. A lot of people get surprised, they think the Cabot Trail starts at the Rotary. Well, no, you have to get there, this is how long it's gonna take to get there. Well, that's not what Google said.
Yeah.
Depends what you asked. Ooh.
that's definitely gonna create, I think, a bit of a shell shock for our next tourism shoulder. Does
Yeah.
anyone else might have any questions that they may have, like, this is a great opportunity. Councilor Langley?
Your worship, through you to, presenter Roy Wyden, and thank you for your
You're welcome.
presentation. You spoke very well
Thank you.
to the issues that are real. And I think that, if the deputy mayor and mayor are meeting with our member of legislative assembly, Rosie would be a great resource on this topic.
Absolutely.
Sure.
And I encourage you guys to
And
engage.
so, oh, another loss, student employment.
Yeah.
We had a couple students. For some of them, this was their first job. As we know, dealing with the public takes special
Mhm.
experience, so it's their first pick at the can, had to teach them how to use a phone. It's great. It's a skill that they will use forever, even though, and they learn how to read a map.
And I bet you they're also learning things about the place they've lived all their life,
Oh, yes,
as they
absolutely.
had.
Most of our students that show up, a lot of them haven't done the cat trail. And you look at things differently when you're, booking things, and yeah.
And just to build on that point.
Yeah.
And the thing that kind of sticks in my head on this topic is that with the absence of that personal touch, that educated, trained, knowledgeable
Mhm.
human interaction, they're gonna be asking questions in communities that may not have that same level of expertise.
Yeah.
Or maybe indifference, like what's going on in this community? Meh, nothing. You know, so that, like that's a concern I would have also, that if for lack of having that at the ready personal interaction with the very educated in terms of our tourism potential
Mhm.
island-wide from shore to shore to shore, that it may not be as well represented if they're asking
I
at
don't
gas
think it's
stations or.
fair to ask somebody that's getting paid minimum wage
No, of course,
to acquire the same
correct.
amount of knowledge.
That's correct.
That's to be fair.
Yeah.
And even though I went into that job with a lot, I have learned a lot in the last 20 years. And I've seen the changes and new owners, new properties, new rules, new everything. You know, when I first started, we didn't have to worry about hurricanes. Kind of a thing now. And everything else that's changed. You know, who would have thought that we'd have to worry about forest fires? Right?
Absolutely. So I guess, Paula, did you have any?
No, Rosie, I just wanna commend you on your spirit and passion for your engagement
We
here.
love our jobs
Yeah, and
and we were very good at our job.
Absolutely.
And that's a sad part. And the fact that we lost good paying jobs that we're not gonna see again,
Absolutely.
right? It's not just my job, it means nobody else is gonna get my job down the road. And that's sad.
Councilman Corey, did you have any questions?
Rosie, I really appreciate your, speaking with us, and you really gave a very comprehensive picture of what service the Tourist Bureau and Tourist Bureau staff provide. I personally, and I think I'm not gonna speak for council, but I'm really upset with, this decision. And, like that local contact, you can talk about digital age and people can book online and stuff, and sure, they can do that. But the local information, the smaller scale stuff, like you talk about Google searches, right? And what gets propped up there. I think back a number of years ago, I used to be a volunteer here in Port Hawkesbury with what we call the Kayleys at the Creamery.
Yeah, I remember those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we used to go to the Tourist Bureau Mondays and Tuesdays and take teaser cards out, so you'd have it as part of the literature that was available. So that was a real strong point, that's that visitor information center. So when the tourists would come in and ask what is going on around here tonight, they would be told. And we heard so many times instances of where people changed plans that might have been heading to Bedeck initially and found accommodations and came here into Port Hawkesbury and stayed. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure my name is with booking.com somewhere. I've canceled a lot of reservations, so I'm pretty sure my name's on a dartboard somewhere. All our names, because people, when they book, they look for chain hotels. Well, the only chain hotels are in Sydney, which are fine. There's nothing wrong with chain hotels. But if you want to do certain things, that may not be where you want to be on the island.
Yeah. It
So
speaks,
if you want to go to the Doryman, you might not want to stay in Sydney.
it kind of speaks to your comment about, big chains being able to afford.
Yeah. And
Part
people
of that,
have it, right?
yeah.
It's easy to
the
book the
internet
cheap
search.
hotel.
To get up to the top of the search bar. I think Councillor Hart has another.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't finish what I was I was just, it's very enlightening that the things that you presented us with, because I was more educated on what actually was happening and what your services were.
Mhm. Everything,
Um,
anything that anybody wants,
Yeah.
we would try to make happen.
How many jobs lost in that particular?
So there's 10 of us. So 3 were more than 6 months. The rest were less. So if you're in the civil service, if you work more than 6 months, you can get medical. So for some people, that's a big deal. If you work less than 6 months, you didn't get medical, but you still have other benefits as well. Plus a couple of weeks.
And what benefit would it be to council to include her with the presentation with?
Yeah, so my thoughts would be if you're open to negotiate, we could exchange some
Sure.
contact information and
Yep.
maybe Deputy Mayor Barrett and I can have a conversation just to kind of formalize some of the information that you've shared. And then that way, when we meet with the MLA, we'll be a lot more informed when we have that conversation.
Yes, because a lot of the older people, they didn't come to the visitor center because they didn't feel like they were visitor. So we had lots of people from away, but I do believe that this summer is gonna be,
It'll be different.
it's gonna be different. I think we're gonna get more than we did last year. Because less people are going to the States. And we're a place to be.
Thank you. Well, thank you very much.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you. Would you mind giving your contact
Sure.
information to Melissa so she can share that with? And I know that was completely unorthodox, that we had a Q&A for council flipped on our questioner. That's okay. Sometimes you have to roll with it. Any other questions regarding any of our agenda items here this evening? Okay, anyone online? Okay, so that will conclude our public question period, and I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Thank you. Do we have a seconder? All those in favor, please signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Any opposed? Okay, we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.